How many small shrugs can break a home? If you listen now, you might hear the first tiny warning before it turns into a bill you cannot ignore. We drop in on a rooftop party where the air smells like citrus spray and rented violins fight the wind. A drone hums above a champagne tower and the city lights pretend to clap. A maintenance alert pings on a phone and no one checks it. That is the first shrug. In Unit 5A lives a woman who can sell smoke to a chimney and still look kind. She works in public relations and carries 2 phones because one lie is never enough for a busy day. Her name is Mara, and today she wants the party to prove that her world is polished and safe. Her partner Eli created a coffee tech company that thinks caffeine is data. He wears fresh trainers and a tired smile, and he calls everything a launch, even when it is just breakfast. The building manager is Tessa, who is paid to care and trained to ignore what does not scream. In 3B, there is Mr. Halpern, who once taught chemistry and still trusts numbers more than vibes. In 9C, there is a couple who post white couches and big promises, and who sue when a cushion sheds a thread. The party begins on time, and the trouble began last week. It began with a thumbnail-sized stain near the laundry closet of 5A. Mara took a photo for later, and later became never. Eli said they had the launch and they would ping someone after the weekend. The stain grew into a bubble, like a quiet blister under paint. Tessa saw it and said the patch could wait, and the report could wait, and everything could wait because waiting is free. Mr. Halpern smelled something damp in the hallway and wrote the time on a sticky note because he does that for everything. He puts notes in a neat line because a neat line can fight chaos. He told the board, and the board wrote a kind reply and did not read their own words. The second shrug was a silent delete. By the time the party night arrived, the drip had visited 3 walls and 2 secrets. The secrets were that the building had an inbox that routes complaints to nowhere, and that the insurance policy wants proof that someone cared. The inbox is called Noise, and the folder is called Backlog, and both are perfectly honest names if you think about it. Up on the roof, the violinist leans into a song that no one can hear over the talk about growth and synergy. A sponsor asks if the rumors are true, and Mara says everything is handled, and she smiles like a lid screwed on a jar. Downstairs, a ceiling patch holds, like a thin bandage pretending to be a cure. A neighbor in 9C coughs and posts about air quality, and then deletes the post because it did not fit their grid. Someone else takes a screenshot, because the internet never wastes a good delete. The burner account appears the next morning with a handle that sounds helpful and a tone that is not. It posts a photo of the stain and a caption about neglect, and everyone loves a villain when they can be the hero from their phone. The likes arrive like geese, and the comments arrive like geese, and both are loud and messy. Mara sees the post and says it is baseless, and she is almost right because it is not baseless, it is baseboard. Eli reads the post and says the optics are bad, and optics means truth but with sunglasses on. Tessa forwards the maintenance ticket to the noise inbox, where tickets go to nap. Mr. Halpern buys a cheap humidity sensor, writes down the numbers, and wonders why everyone trusts vibes so much. The building board has signatures longer than their attention spans. They like to say the word governance because it feels like care without the sweat. The gossip page discovers the building and discovers that indifference is content. Someone sells a joke candle named after Unit 5A, and people buy it for the novelty of other people's problems. The candle smells like lemon and denial. Eli brings investors to the lobby for a tour, and the elevator stops for a breath that nobody planned. They take the stairs and call it a wellness moment, and everyone laughs too loudly because fear likes a mask. The stain becomes a story, and the story becomes a storm of very small decisions that pretend they are not decisions. I want you to notice the rhythm here, because it is the same rhythm you have heard in your own life. You see a tiny problem and you say after the weekend, and you are not wrong, you are just late. We return to the party, and the drone is drawing circles over the weak spot in the roof like a bored doctor. A maintenance ping arrives again and sits on a screen like a bird that does not know if the window is real. No one taps it because no one wants to be the person who breaks the mood. In 3B, Mr. Halpern writes down the exact time his hallway air felt heavy, and he writes the number from his sensor, and a small frown joins the data. He prints a one-page timeline and folds it twice, and plans to bring it to the desk in the morning. He believes in paper because paper cannot pretend it never existed. Mara changes a caption from perfect night to something more humble because humility looks good in photos now. Eli watches the chat on the stream and sees a comment about damp, and he scrolls past because engagement is not always love. Tessa closes 2 tickets before reading them because the system rewards speed, not sense. The noise inbox grows heavy, and nobody feels the weight because the inbox lives on a server far away. The next day, a junior sponsor with asthma visits and feels tight in the chest, and sits down and drinks water and feels better. No one calls an ambulance because better is free and an ambulance is not. They file a small incident report and decide to keep it private because privacy sounds like kindness. The gossip page posts again and calls it a cover-up, and the word cover loves to sit next to the word mold. Mara drafts a real email to the board and pauses before sending because sending makes things real, and real makes things slow. Eli says they can fund a quick deep clean, and he means it, and then a call pulls him away. Mr. Halpern brings his timeline to the desk and leaves it in a tray that holds lost keys and hope. The concierge says thank you and does not look at the paper because looking is not in the script. Tessa checks the tray and moves the paper under a stack of delivery slips because slips feel urgent. The third shrug is a shuffle. The smell in the hallway grows from murmur to sentence, and still no one says the word problem out loud. The board schedules a meeting to discuss a meeting, and then postpones it because calendars are a nice place to hide. The insurance broker asks for records, and the board replies with confidence and no attachments. The burner account posts a side-by-side of the stain and the party smiles and writes a caption about priorities. Eli sees the post, types a comment, deletes it, goes for a run, and calls the run a reset. Mara reads a message from a tenant who says their throat feels odd, and she replies with a heart, because a heart is faster than a plan. Mr. Halpern adjusts his sensor, and the number goes up, and he draws a small arrow on his paper. He knocks on the door of 5A, waits, hears nothing, and leaves a simple note that says, "Please check the vent."
Please check the vent.
The note is polite and clear and gets wet on the floor, and nobody sees it until it dries into a new stain shape. The fire alarm has a low battery chirp, but it is not a chirp you asked for, so you mute it and promise to get a ladder later. I am not judging you, because you and I have the same drawer of promises. The city looks rich at night and poor in the morning, and the building copies that trick. The week turns and the party returns, because launches love repetition. The rooftop now has a bigger sponsor wall, a slicker stream, and a stronger wind. A sustainability keynote begins, while the vents groan like tired lungs that no one wants to hear. The camera catches a tiny shimmer in the champagne tower, and the comments start to tilt. Someone in the chat posts the timeline that Mr. Halpern wrote, and it looks simple, honest, and devastating. Mara feels heat on her face, and it is not the lights. Eli watches logos fade from the stream because the partners are pulling their placements in real time. The gossip page posts a countdown to accountability, and people love a countdown because it feels like power. Tessa stands by the service door and finally opens the maintenance app and sees a mountain dressed as a list. She scrolls and scrolls, and the mountain does not shrink. She finds the first ticket about the drip, and it has a timestamp from days ago and a note that says, deferred. She feels something simple and scary, which is the desire to do one thing right. She goes to the utility room and finds corrosion on a pipe, and she does not take a photo for later. She calls a real person now.
I need you here today, not tomorrow.
The contractor says he will come in an hour, and Tessa says, make it half, and the tone of her voice surprises even her. On the roof, the speech about green futures continues, while the air bites and everyone pretends it is a mint. A small sponsor sees the chat and slips away quietly with their gift bags, because retreat is easier than stance. Eli faces a circle of investors who want a story, and he gives them a true one.
We missed small signals. We will pay for that, and we will fix what we can.
It is not the smooth line he practices, but it is the right one, and it costs him. Mara steps away from the cameras, opens her drafts, and sends the email she feared. And it is not long, but it is clear.
We need an independent inspection, and we need it now.
She sends a second message to the gossip page with no spin and no deal.
Here are the documents in order, and here is what we ignored.
The page posts the documents, and for once does not add snark, because real receipts do not need frosting. Downstairs, the contractor arrives with a simple tool bag and simple eyes, and starts with the vent. He says step back, and Tessa listens, and feels something old and rare, which is relief with a plan attached.
We will log every step and sign our names to it.
Mr. Halpern watches from his door and nods once, because facts are getting a turn.
Start with the vent and write the time.
The party does not collapse, and the tower does not fall, and yet the night is over because the chat decided it was. The ruin is quiet and quick, which is how most ruin works. Sponsors pull out, money pulls out, pride pulls out, and a heavy calm takes the chair. The next week begins like a diet after a scare, and everything tastes like honesty. The building posts a public checklist, and it has dates and signatures, and the word done only appears when done is true. Tessa changes the inbox name from noise to care, and sets alerts that go to people, not folders. She also sets a rule that nothing important will be marked private unless someone can say why in one sentence. Mara visits 3B with a printed apology that is written like a human and not a brand.
You warned us, we did not listen, and I am sorry.
Mr. Halpern accepts with a sigh that sounds like a little door opening.
Help me post the data where everyone can see it, not just us.
Eli cancels a splashy collab and wires the budget into remediation, because sometimes the only message is a bank transfer.
We pay first and we talk later.
The 9C couple stops posting perfect corners and starts posting their air filter schedule, and to their surprise, people like that more.
We learned to care when it cost us, and we should have learned sooner.
The gossip page loses interest slowly, because repair has fewer jokes and more steps. That is fine, because the goal of repair is not to trend. Weeks pass, and the numbers on the sensor come down, and the notes on the door go away, because problems have become tasks, and tasks have become habits. The building is now a place where a ping gets a person, not a shrug. The board still has long signatures, but now they sign work orders too. The insurer receives a packet with clear dates and approves what they would have denied before, and money arrives like a late apology. Mara and Eli sit at their small kitchen table and say real things without fear of headline or hashtag.
I kept trying to protect an image, and I forgot to protect the air.
I kept calling our life a launch and forgot it was a home.
They laugh in a small way that feels like a clean window. Tessa keeps a new rule taped to her screen, and it says first small, then all.
Fix the first small thing before it grows teeth.
Mr. Halpern stores his sensor in a drawer and hopes he does not need it, but knows he will watch if he must.
Care is a measurement, not a mood.
I promised you a question at the start and a return to it at the end. How many small shrugs can break a home now? Hundreds if no one stops, and one less if you do. Here is the plain lesson that fits in a pocket and weighs enough to matter. Ruin does not arrive like a storm, it adds itself like dust. You do not need a hero cape, you need a cloth and 10 minutes, and the nerve to say now. If a ping appears, tap it. And if a neighbor speaks, listen. And if a list grows, pick one line and make it past tense. That is the gold in the thorns, because care hurts a little and saves a lot. I want you to take one action after this story and make it boring, and make it soon. Check a filter, or send a message, or open a drawer and throw out the liar that says later. Thank you for staying with me to the end, because endings are where people usually leave. If this story gave you something, please tap like so the next person finds it. Subscribe if you want more messy people learning simple lessons the hard way. Leave a comment and tell me the first small thing you will fix today. If you want to support this channel, use the QR code on the screen or the link in the description to donate. The description also has links to other works from a very different series, and they are wild in their own way. Take care of one tiny thing before your day ends, and watch how your air changes. See you in the next story, and bring your patience and your sense of humor, because we will need both. We will meet again soon, and until then, keep the vent clean and the inbox honest.